Hey everyone, welcome. It's Naomi, and today I want to teach you how to take a really good Shavasana. So if you're not quite sure what Shavasana is the final pose in most yoga classes where you lie on your back, you close your eyes, and you rest. It's sort of like a yoga nap or a nap for adults, okay? The whole point of Shavasana is really to be super relaxed and super grounded and to help you process all of the work that you just did in your yoga practice. So you want your Shavasana to be really comfortable, but most of us going to yoga classes don't actually ever get taught how to do Shavasana. Right? Like, raise your hand if you have been taught how to do Shavasana. Okay, I mean, most of us don't get taught because the teacher just sort of expects that you know how to be comfortable on the ground. But the truth is that we don't always. And we don't always want to ask, well, how do I lie here on my back? Because it should be really obvious. So I want to make it a little bit easier for you to go to a yoga class and to really enjoy taking Shavasana at the very end of your yoga class. In fact, to look forward to it even more. Okay, so today I have a few more props than I usually do. So I have 3 blankets in total. You could have lots more than that. I just happen to have 3. I have 2 blocks. Those are blocks. That's what I have. 2 blocks. And I have a bolster. Now, if you don't have a bolster, don't worry. I'm going to show you a couple of ways that you can use the bolster, but also ways that you can modify if you don't have a bolster. So no bolster is required, but if you do have one, it's pretty awesome, right? And fairly inexpensive. So that's what I have for you today. A few more props than usual because you want to feel really relaxed and supported in Shavasana. So let's get started. So first things first, I sort of want to get really, really clear on that idea that Shavasana is supposed to be tension-free, right? You should be feeling no pain, no rigidity. You should feel completely relaxed and super comfortable on the ground. Okay, so that means that it's usually nice to have something underneath your head, okay, because the ground is really hard. Okay, especially like the concrete floor of my back porch is really hard, but anywhere you're going to be, unless you're on carpet, which, doesn't exist in any yoga studio that I've ever been to. If you're doing yoga on carpet, okay, you're exempt if you want from the pillow under your head, but in most yoga studios, that floor is really hard, and having your head on the hard floor is going to distract your body. It's going to make your body tense up a little bit, so having something soft underneath your head will help you relax and calm a little bit more, help you tap into your parasympathetic nervous system, which is just, your body's way of saying, hey, everything's cool, you're fine. You don't have to be scared, you don't have to freak out, you're safe. Okay, that's parasympathetic in a nutshell. Okay, so always make sure that you have something underneath your head if you can. And if you only have 1 blanket, that's what you use it for. Okay, now, if you are lying on your back and you are super duper uncomfortable, like you have low back pain or your knees feel funny or your hips feel funny, usually what happens is you lie on your back, head on the blanket, knees bent. But this isn't particularly relaxing, right? If your knees are bent, you kind of have to work at holding them up, you knock them in, and it still feels like a lot of work, okay? So the best thing to have underneath your knees is my pal, the bolster. Now, how do you place the bolster under your knees? Well, the best way to place it under your knees is to have it diagonally oriented to the floor, because that means it's on an angle so that your calves can rest on the bolster and your feet are on the floor. Oh, and it feels so good, right? You could just be here for a really long time and just enjoy it. Now, alternatively, what I often see is people just sort of putting the bolster straight up, but then sort of your legs hang off the edge and your feet are sort of dangling, or it's a little bit of an awkward situation. Or they put the bolster completely flat and just lay their legs over it. But again, that's sort of letting your legs hang a little bit, your feet aren't very supported, it can feel a little awkward. Not bad, definitely play around with it, but the best angle that I have found if you're going to use a bolster is to make the bolster more on the diagonal. Okay, so it's not straight up and down, but really supporting your calves. And that's going to give you a little bit more support for your back as well. And it's going to give you more support for your feet, so you're not working quite so hard here. Okay, now, if you don't have a bolster, here's what you get to do. So I'm going to put the bolster to the side. I'm just going to prop it up. you have your two blocks, or you have something that's like blocks. You can place the blocks under your knees. Now that would be pretty uncomfortable if they were just, as is blocks under your knees, and that's where your second blanket comes in. So you can take the blanket, put it over the blocks, place them wherever they need to go, lie back again, and then you have a little bit more support underneath your knees, and it feels wonderful, like super duper wonderful. And like I said, you could stay here for a really long time. Like, I don't really want to get up. This just feels really good. Okay, so that's that. Another way to support your low back. Now, blocks are great, but if you don't have blocks and you don't have a bolster and you don't have extra blankets and you just want to make your low back feel a little bit better, there are two other options for you. Okay, two other options. The first is actually to take your legs wider apart. Okay, so what tends to happen, and I've watched this over like 14 years of teaching, most people when they lie down, they bring their legs really close together and they take their arms really close to their body and they lie on their back and they're like, oh, like holding themselves in place really tightly. And that's not very relaxed or supportive, right? You're not letting go into anything. Okay, so if you take your legs a little bit wider apart, give yourself more space, your legs can turn out a bit. You can rest your hands on your belly. I'm filming outside right now and it's kind of cold, so I'm going to put them underneath my shawl to give myself more warmth. And that also tends to feel a little bit better. If your legs go wider, your arms can go wider if you're not as cold as I am right now. Okay, you can give yourself just a little bit more support there, but even having your hands on your belly can be grounding, right? Can help you rest. Okay, whereas like having your arms stiff alongside your body, can make it a lot harder for you. Yeah, so if you don't have that, legs go wide, arms go wide. Or your last option is not to be on your back at all. Okay, not be on your back at all. Because for some people, being on their back is really uncomfortable, right? Like, raise your hand if lying on your back is super uncomfortable and you dread Shavasana, right? Because the teacher's like, lie on your back, close your eyes, and enjoy the best part of class. And you're like, this is the worst. So you can lie on your side. Remember that blanket that was under your head? You're going to place one arm under the blanket, so it's on your forearm. Okay? And you can even hold on to it. And you just curl up and cuddle with this blanket. You can also extend your right arm out to the side. I happen to be on my right side. You could be on your left side. It doesn't matter. Right? But curl up. Yeah. Super nice, right? So those are just a couple of really easy ways that you can modify your Shavasana to feel more comfortable and more tailored to you. Okay, just a couple more tips just to help you out. Remember, you can always cover yourself with a blanket to feel more comfortable. Or if you don't want to put the blanket all the way over you, if you just need a little bit more weight on your body, you can take the blanket, it's a typical yoga blanket, fold it in half again, and you can place the blanket, I need this under my head, place the blanket along the front of your body just to weight you down a little bit. Okay, so it's vertical on my body. It feels so good. You could also do it, fold it over one more time and put it over your pelvis. Okay, I personally prefer the vertical, right? Vertical along your entire body, or along my entire body anyway. But any of those can work really well just to help ground you a little bit more during Shavasana so that you feel a little bit steadier, a little bit calmer, and you feel like you're completely supported instead of like you are holding yourself in this pose that's supposed to help you relax. So those are just a few more ways that you can really enjoy Shavasana. Now, the last piece that I want to tell you about before I wrap this up, there's one more thing to make Shavasana a little bit more enjoyable, okay? So, no matter where you're lying, whether you're on your back or on your side, or even on your belly, which is sometimes more comfortable for people, like let's say I'm just on my back, How do you come out of Shavasana? What do? Okay, sometimes teachers will instruct you, but you're sort of like, whoa, Shavasana, and you're not totally with it. Here's what you do. You bend your knees. You roll over to your side. Really doesn't matter which side. Honestly, doesn't matter. Okay? So you roll to your side, and then you keep pushing into your hands to lift yourself up. Now, why do you want to do it this way? Well, it's just a little bit sweeter on your body. Okay? It's just a slower, more grounded way to come back up. If you roll up from Shavasana, like I see this a lot, people coming out of Shavasana like, right? Pull them back up. It's just a little bit harder. You know, like it's harder on your body. It's a little bit more jarring. You know, after you've had this like really grounding, really soft, really sweet experience, it's kind of jarring to like roll yourself up through your spine to sit back up. So it's just going to be a little bit more grounding, a little bit more calming, to roll onto your side and to keep your legs heavy, right, which means your legs stay on the ground as you push yourself back up, walk up to a seat, and then boom, you're done. Okay? So, hopefully this has given you some really good information for the next time you go to your yoga class, or even the next time that you do a yoga practice at home. Hopefully this gives you some really good information for how to set yourself up for a really sweet Shavasana so that you don't feel any tension, any discomfort, and that you can really deeply relax in quite possibly the most important pose in yoga. So, as always, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching this video. If you have any questions about Shavasana, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. And I look forward to practicing again with you on the mat really soon. Bye.